Exploring the reliability of Christianity and Islam, one must first understand the concept of chains in both religions, specifically how the transmission of teachings and texts is handled. When comparing the two, it becomes clear that Islam possesses a far more structured and reliable system of transmission than Christianity's chain of transmission. Christianity, at its core, relies on the Bible, a compilation of texts written by various authors over centuries. These texts were passed down through many generations, but there was no clear, consistent chain of transmission, especially for the teachings of Jesus himself. The texts that form the New Testament were written decades after Jesus' death, and the earliest manuscripts we have were copied from earlier ones. This process of copying and translating over the centuries introduces many variations, errors, and discrepancies in the text. The concept of hadith in Christianity is largely absent. Christianity lacks a formalized system for tracking the sayings and actions of Jesus through a reliable chain of narrators. The early Christian texts were written by individuals who were not necessarily direct disciples of Jesus. The apostles themselves did not leave behind detailed written records, and many of the gospel writers were not eyewitnesses, but rather second or third-hand sources. The Gospels themselves are believed by some scholars to have been written as many as 40 to 70 years after Jesus' death. This gap in time, coupled with the lack of a continuous chain of transmission, raises questions about the reliability of the texts. Moreover, the Christian Bible is made up of various books written by different authors, some of whom had their own interpretations of events, teachings, and doctrines. This has led to multiple denominations, each with different perspectives on Christian teachings. This diversity in interpretation makes it difficult to say that Christianity has a unified, reliable source of doctrine, especially when you compare it to Islam's more structured approach, Islam's chain of transmission. On the other hand, Islam has a much more rigorous and reliable method for transmitting its teachings. The chain of transmission in Islam is built on a system known as isnad, the chain of narrators, which ensures that each hadith, the recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad, is linked to a reliable source through a documented chain of narrators. For any hadith to be accepted as authentic, it must be traced back through a continuous chain of trustworthy narrators, from the individual who heard it directly from the Prophet Muhammad, all the way down to the scholar who transmits it today. This system of isnad is not arbitrary. The narrators in the chain are carefully vetted based on their character, memory, and reputation. Scholars have a well-established process for grading the reliability of each narrator, ensuring that only the most trustworthy individuals are included in the chain. Furthermore, the hadiths are classified into categories such as sahih, authentic, da'if, weak, and maudu, fabricated, allowing for a precise determination of their reliability. This chain of transmission extends beyond just the hadiths. The Quran itself, which is considered the literal word of God in Islam, has been preserved through a system of memorization and oral transmission since the time of the Prophet Muhammad. The companions of the Prophet, known as the Sahaba, memorized the Quran in its entirety, and this tradition of memorization continues to this day, with millions of people worldwide maintaining a direct link to the original text through their ability to recite the Quran from memory. The comparison. When comparing the reliability of Christianity and Islam, the difference in the chain of transmission is striking. Christianity lacks a consistent chain of transmission for the teachings of Jesus, and its texts were written long after the events they describe. While some may argue that the Bible is divinely inspired, the absence of a formalized, verified system of narrators leaves room for doubt about the accuracy of the text. In contrast, Islam has a meticulously preserved and verified chain of transmission for both the Quran and the hadiths. The rigorous standards for determining the authenticity of narrations provide a level of reliability that is unmatched in Christianity. The existence of the isnad system ensures that the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad and the words of the Quran are preserved with incredible accuracy. Believing in Christianity in many ways can be seen as more of a leap of blind faith. The lack of a clear, structured chain of transmission for the core teachings of Christianity means that much of what Christians believe has been handed down through centuries without a foolproof verification process. The Gospels, while containing teachings attributed to Jesus, were written by individuals who were not direct disciples or eyewitnesses in many cases. They were often based on oral traditions that passed through many generations, and over time, various translations and interpretations have shaped the way these teachings are understood. Because there is no formal chain of narrators like Islam's Isnad system, it becomes difficult to definitively verify the accuracy of many Christian teachings. Therefore, for many believers, accepting the message of Christianity often comes down to faith without the solid, verifiable foundation that would typically provide more certainty. On the other hand, Islam offers a far more reliable and structured belief system. One of the most significant aspects that sets Islam apart is the rigorous preservation and transmission of its core texts, the Quran and Hadith, through a meticulously documented chain of reliable narrators. The Quran, considered the literal word of God in Islam, has been preserved exactly as it was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. Its oral transmission has been carefully safeguarded since the time of the Prophet, with millions of Muslims around the world memorizing the entire Quran, ensuring that there has been no corruption or alteration of the text. This direct link from the Prophet to today's recitations makes the Quran a text that is universally regarded as authentic and reliable. Islam also goes beyond the Quran by offering a robust system of hadiths, the recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet Muhammad. Through the Isnad system, Islam provides a verifiable chain of narration, ensuring that each hadith can be traced back to a trustworthy source. Every narrator is scrutinized for their memory, character, and reliability, providing a level of assurance that the sayings of the Prophet are accurately preserved. This extensive system of verification is something Christianity lacks, where there are no comparable efforts to document the chain of transmission for the teachings of Jesus. When looking at Islam as a whole, its approach to preserving and transmitting knowledge makes it one of the most reliable religions. Islam provides its followers with a clear, verifiable path to understanding its teachings, grounded in a well-documented and well-preserved tradition. This is not just a matter of blind faiths. It's based on a transparent and trustworthy process that has been followed for over 1,400 years. Moreover, Islam's comprehensive teachings extend beyond just the preservation of texts. The religion emphasizes reason, evidence, and knowledge. The Quran itself encourages its followers to think critically and reflect on the world around them. The science of Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh, is another example of how Islam incorporates logic and reasoning into its legal and ethical guidelines. Islamic scholars have dedicated centuries to ensuring that the teachings of the Quran and Hadith are applied in a way that is rational, relevant, and applicable to modern life. Islam also promotes the idea of a strong moral community. The concepts of charity, zakat, justice, adl, and mercy, rahmah, are foundational principles in Islam that guide the behavior of Muslims and their interactions with others. Unlike some other religions, Islam offers a detailed framework for how to live a balanced, just, and harmonious life, both spiritually and socially. In comparison to Christianity, where there are multiple interpretations and denominations, Islam remains unified in its teachings. There is a single, universally accepted version of the Quran, and the core tenets of belief are consistently practiced across the globe. This unity in understanding and practice makes Islam more coherent and reliable, offering its followers a more consistent and firm foundation for faith. Furthermore, the fact that the teachings of Islam have remained unchanged for over a millennium, despite being spread across diverse cultures and regions, speaks to the strength and reliability of the system of transmission. The Quran's preservation through memorization and its meticulous documentation through the Hadith system shows a level of dedication to accuracy and truth that Christianity does not match. In conclusion, while Christianity requires a higher degree of blind faith due to the absence of a reliable system of transmission, Islam stands out as a more reliable and structured religion. With its rigorous methods of preserving the Quran and Hadith, its verifiable chain of narrators, and its emphasis on reason and evidence, Islam offers a solid, trustworthy foundation for belief. For those seeking a faith built on reliability, clarity, and a rich tradition of verification, Islam stands as the superior option. And that's the reality. When we look at the facts, Islam stands as the most reliable and well-preserved faith, while Christianity lacks the strong foundation needed for certainty. The difference is undeniable. If you're searching for the truths, don't settle for blind faith. Seek knowledge, ask questions, and explore the evidence for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more discussions like this. What are your thoughts on the reliability of Christianity versus Islam? Drop your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep seeking the truth.